Alrighty. We've got a long presentation here. Hopefully we can knock it all out tonight. I don't know if we can or not. We'll see. This is a long one. Anybody can talk except Helen Keller. Sorry.
Wow.
Anyone can say stuff. Anyone can tell others how great they are and how amazing they are. Talking requires minimal effort. Anybody can talk. Question is, can you act? Actions are what people notice and what they're going to remember. Both your positive actions and your negative actions. So always make sure your actions go above and beyond what your mouth says. Any questions? All right. We're going to learn about the anatomy of the skin. We're going to go over the different types of soft tissue injuries. They're pretty gory. Any questions? So why is the skin important? It gives you protection from the filthy, dirty world that we live in. Protecting you from viruses and bacteria. It also is the end point of all your sensation nerves. It also has capillaries inside of it that can vasodilate, vasoconstrict to control your temperature based on a hot or cold environment. Any questions so far? That's what the skin looks like under a microscope shaped. All right, here's something we hope you'll really like.
This is the first layer of your skin, and it acts as a barrier against the environment, repelling water and blocking out harmful germs. Just beneath it, on the second layer, the dermis is packed with sweat glands and hair follicles that help regulate your body's temperature. And the last layer is the deepest, made up of a network of fat and connective tissue that insulates your body. These three layers work together to make up your skin.
For anyone who's taken this class before, it's a lot better than the video I had before. Any questions? All right, we're going to go over the types of soft tissue injuries. There's closed injuries, which is when the skin is not broken. Then open injuries, which is when skin is broken. And then burns, which is when there is more energy absorbed by the skin than the skin can displace, which then in turn damages the skin. Any questions? All right, types of closed injuries. Contusions, also known as bruises. Hematoma, blood collecting under the skin. Abrasions, also known as scrape. And a crush injury, also known as being crushed. Any questions? That's what a contusion looks like. Probably everyone in this room's had one at some point in their life. Any questions? That's a good hematoma. No, it is not in your scope of practice to be able to lancet, take a needle, and pop it. Send you over to the trainer next door to do that. Any questions about hematomas? Any questions about scrapes, also known as abrasions, where you just rub the skin right off? Then crush injuries, those usually don't go too well. That thumb is not getting saved. Huh? Well, I got smashed off when they tried to reattach it. And for some reason, where did the lacerations go? Oh, it's because these are closed. Lacerations are under open, that's why. All right, this is a pretty ugly crush injury. This is not for the weak at heart. This poor guy.
So Russian was like that, what's happening? Russian race are like the worst. It's got its chance.
They're tough. It's the ultimate blunt trauma. They're still going. They're unresponsive. Their foot on the wheel. That's bad. Don't give anything a drink. It's got to go to surgery. It's the worst thing you could do. Game gets started. Rubbing his back though. It's very helpful. Yeah, so the fight cutter changing. I'm trying to make it entertaining. The horrific incident. Oh, it's time to get there. Ties the shoes. You don't want to trip over the patient. Long time for EMS to get there. When did the golden hour start? Yeah. Brutal. No, I don't know how it turned out. All right, here's some more. Yeah, machinery is unforgiving. Yeah, I don't want to watch that one. Actually, I think I have it right here. Yeah, we know. This poor guy. Watch the guy cold in the bag, the bottom left. I think that's him. But he falls over backwards. Everybody's blocking traffic. Yeah. Yeah, don't stick your arm in there. Oh. Too late. Yeah, too late. Any questions? So what do you do for soft tissue injuries? Secure ABCs. If ABCs aren't taken care of, it doesn't matter. Center spinalization O2. And just like if you drop your cell phone in the toilet, put it in a bag of rice. I'm just kidding. That's for rest, ice, compression, elevation, split. Rices. Rest, toilet. Ice, compression, elevate, splint. There you go. Any questions? Rest, ice, compression, elevate, splint. Races. Questions? Now we get to move to open soft tissue injuries. These are very, very attractive. Lacerations, avulsions, incisions, penetrating wounds, gunshot wounds, which are penetrating wounds. I don't know why they're listed separately. Amputation and animal bites, which are also penetrating wounds. Are you ready? Let's go over lacerations. Lacerations are tearing, jagged-edged, open soft tissue injuries. Everybody know what that is? What caused that? Neck injury? What's that? Nope. That's from an auger. An auger?
Oh.
It's like a little spirally thing, probably inside of a hog. That area is passed out in someone's driveway to snowed over and they got him with a snowblower. Not likely. More likely that is, since it's his foot, he probably had a stuck hog and he was probably trying to unjam it, and he unjammed it, and then the auger spun and got him. Had a few of those in Roseburg. Avulsions, that's one hell of an avulsion. Generally, avulsion is just it peels back some skin, you can put it back in place. That's completely scalped right there. Incisions are different than lacerations. They have smooth, clean edges, usually done with a very sharp instrument like a scalpel, or in this case, a sword or a machete. Somebody was very angry. Any questions? And penetrating wounds. The guy on the left missed the safety briefing on his nail gun. And the one on the right, that's a classic prison shank. And yes, those are real pictures. Unlike the publisher. Any questions about penetrating wounds? So how do you get things like that?
There we go.
That's how it happens, people. This also happened since you are in college, and this was in a college dorm where this happened. This is why you don't do things like this.
Oh my God. I cannot believe this is fucking gonna kill me. I have to go to the fucking hospital. I have to go to the fucking hospital. There's a fucking scissors sticking out of my fucking arm.
Watch it again. We're not expecting that outcome.
Wow. I'm not believing this is fucking gonna kill him. I have to go to the fucking hospital. I have to go to the fucking hospital. Holy shit. There are fucking sinners sticking out of my fucking arm.
One of the bravest kids I've ever seen in my life.
Alright, so we're not gonna show your face yet, but we're not gonna show
The
anybody.
bicycle handle.
There's a lot of good looking women in this room, but, these, you got clothes on, you don't give me that.
Flip notes, failed objects, we secure in place, we never remove them. Unless it's blocking the airway. Secure in place in this case, and do a good job, cut off whatever you can cut off, transport.
And so, so you were riding your bike and you hit a pothole, is that correct? Okay, and, she can say, yeah, she's injured, she didn't have, that's not the way she was trained, even when you're laying in the bed in the emergency room, you gotta be, mom's gonna make sure you treat adults with respect. So, you don't have any problem with me, because I post these on YouTube as part of my training videos, and I'll show you, I'll give you a YouTube link if you want it.
Okay, I have no problem. Maybe see someone else.
It will. So basically what we've done, what we're gonna do, so this is the brake handle on the bike. And so when EMS arrived, you were still attached to your bike, and then they were able to help, everybody was able to help, separate the handle, cut the wire, break off the rest of the brake handle, and then deliver you to us. So we've given you some antibiotics, we've given you some pain medication, or we will be giving you antibiotics, and we're gonna be calling the surgery team to come take a look at that, and they may make a decision, additional further studies. How old are you? 15, okay. So I'm just gonna get a close up of this. And you have no medical problems. You're obviously very athletic because you're out on your bike riding full speed and at a high speed. And you look like a jockey too. So you want to tell me what you're doing on this?
Yeah, I'm just making something up here, but I'm just giving our tourniquet,
Okay,
just in case we need it,
in case it starts to bleed.
in case it starts to bleed.
All
This is,
right.
I mean, right here, Sartorius just coming from here all the way to there. This is the Baker or the, seamstress muscle.
Mhm.
And right under that Sartorius is where the SFA lies. If this goes immediately to where it's in, I can hit the SFA muscle, but if it goes laterally, it's probably not even close to it.
Okay,
So, but it did, they don't go laterally, we got an X-ray, and
Yeah.
it shows it's pretty superficial.
so you did the
Did an ABI,
ABI,
and the ABIs are, right at 1.1.
all right, so it doesn't appear to be
So it
an
doesn't seem
arterial injury. You've done your homework.
Yeah, so let's,
An EMT student looks bored as hell.
Keeping our patient distracted, doing a good job of that.
all right, just like it.
I will leave that tourniquet's gonna work,
Again,
if she
you
does
don't-
start bleeding.
You don't mind with being on YouTube,
Not
okay?
very well.
All right, I won't show her face.
Where's that rock? I seen a rock.
Not gonna happen.
It's just caught on the skin, okay?
I'm just like the skin.
Understood.
Can we have, some lighting?
We're doing eye spine. We're gonna get a little burst in to try and calm her down. This is take the anxiety away.
Think you just froze the new. Under done there. Yeah.
Be freezing, you know.
Now that happened.
Yeah, that's good.
Give them lidocaine to numb the sensory nerves.
The lighted thing in the needle. Did you get a first aid yet? Okay. Yeah, there's no additional, elements here that would be stuck on that. It would be, there we go, there it is.
Yikes. Any questions? Here's another good one.
My God, he's laying there. Don't move. He thinks he is close to paralyzed. He thinks if he moves, he'll probably be paralyzed.
Copy that, Kim, before, give a.
That call was in Rama, we need you immediately. Dad fell on a stake and I called 911.
It's usually the ghost hour, the 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, the end of our shift when all the major traumas happen.
He fell from a tree and fell object.
He's stabbed. He's stabbed. He has something in his back. It's metal. It's nothing metal. He can't feel his legs.
Okay, so like.
He went through his lower back into his
Huh?
pelvis. I'm expecting to transfuse a lot
It
of
was a
blood.
it was a
patient.
stake in the
I'm
garden.
expecting that to be a large vessel injury and that he's gonna bleed out. I'm concerned he's gonna bleed out.
So do you know what happened?
It's abdominal aorta right there, tail.
He slipped over and he fell down. He's laying there.
I can't get to all of the potential injuries. The best place for us to look is through a front approach. And obviously with 12 inches of metal sticking out of the back, we couldn't lay him on his back. We had to cut the fence post off at the skin.
Yeah,
So
fence post,
and
little
we
fence
asked
post.
one of the nurses to call engineering.
I wasn't really sure what we were gonna be up against, so I tried to get into everything. I was thinking I was just gonna drop this stuff off, but they asked me to meet them in the OR. I had no idea that it would be me in the operating room.
A thought ran through my mind the possibility he could be paralyzed.
We had to cut off that foot of it just to get him onto the bed. And there was the second foot was still inside of him.
Once we turned him over, I could feel the other end of the metal object in his abdomen.
Unfortunately, I missed everything.
We found a way that we thought that it would be safe to pull the metal object out, put some vice grips on that, literally.
You guys had blood, right? Yeah, blood, yeah. You know the time you try it.
They had gone through a part of the pelvis and had lodged it in a rather thick area of bone.
It took 3 guys to hold him down while I pulled. That's how hard I was pulling. This thing out and went flying across the room and it was unreal.
You don't want any, reticulator.
Prepping to do an exploratory laparotomy to see what's going on inside his belly.
Looking at first for, major vascular injuries, which could be, very quickly life threatening. He was very close to a couple of big arteries. A lot of our training is knowing what parts belong where, and when they're not in the right place, to figure out how to get them back.
It was really, really dark, so we couldn't really see good down here. We only had flashlights. The rest of them was literally pitch black, so he was about right here. He was reaching. He fell down right there. The thing that he landed on was the thing like this, except it was way longer and it was stuck in his back.
I landed, I didn't want to panic my kids at first, so I started.
Lucky didn't end up paralyzed. All right, GSWs. They're always gonna be an entrance wound if they got shot. May or may not have an exit wound. Always check for an exit wound. If possible, for mechanism of injury, know the caliber of gun and the distance that they were shot from. Any questions? That's an entrance wound. That's an exit wound. That's trying to grab a gun away from somebody. Not a very good video, I'll bet. I'm 10 years ago.
The man then retrieves his gun and fires at the trooper. The bullets barely misses the officer, and the life or death struggle continues. Finally, the trooper is able to get to his service weapon. Feeling he has no choice, he shoots the suspect and brings the struggle to an end.
So we're gonna go over after this one, which will probably be Thursday. We get into head and spine injuries. One of those grows basal skull fractures and raccoonitis. This actually usually that's from blunt trauma. This one's actually penetrating trauma. But you'll actually get to see raccoon's eyes here. This also is a great scene safety video. Just because law enforcement's on scene does not mean the scene is safe, even when they tell you it's safe. This guy was arrested for suspicion of shooting a police officer. And we're already been checked by the arresting officer, by the transport officer, and checked in for the interrogation. Went through 3 different sets of law enforcement. And then this happened.
Yeah.
Look at that cell phone. It's huge. Nokia.
Oh.
Those are raccoon eyes right there. Yeah, especially after you already gone through 3 different sets of law enforcement. Is that same distracting injury again? Again. He's shot in the pelvis, but they're distracted by the head wound. I cannot think of another example of a distracting injury that's better than this one. And he literally bled out and died right there.
Because of his pelvis?
Yeah. Femoral artery and femoral vein go right through the pelvis. It's his head. It's his head. Look at his head. It's bleeding. Direct pressure. PSI. Keep recording with my cell phone. You're yelling medic. Is that arm again? All right, so what do we do for open soft tissue injuries? Airway, breathing, circulation, nothing else matters if you don't have that under control. Stop the bleeding. You have to stop the bleeding. Clean and dress the wound. If it is between the belly button and the jaw, you should apply an occlusive dressing. An occlusive dressing is an airtight sealed dressing. If it is a gunshot wound, always look for an exit wound. You have to put an occlusive dressing on every hole you find. If it's above the belly button or below the jaw. Any questions? All right, eviscerations. That's when the abdominal wall's been ripped open and the abdominal organs fall out. Do not try to put them back in. Cover them with a moist, sterile dressing. And if you have aluminum foil, apply aluminum foil shiny side in. So you're going to lose radiate heat rapidly. Your abdominal organs are very vascular, and you're going to lose body heat rapidly. These people get hypothermic quickly. Any questions?
Why do you put shiny side in?
Because it reflects the radiate heat back in, radiation. Amputations. That is an amputated foot. With matching toenail polish. Okay, no. Okay. Or is that it? I always get them confused. Thing, yeah. Yeah, after this happened, you started, you got to start roll on Wednesday. That's a problem. So if you get to a reattachment center in 5 hours, you have a chance to get it reattached if it is possible. Go by the color of the skin, it works, good vascular perfusion. Question is do the nerve reattachments work? It's a lot of hardware. I would say it worked. Any questions? Yeah. This one's got music. Yeah, that center shot, but that's not good. That's not good, perfusion. Fortunately, the surgeon had his thumb on it. 2 PSI, guys.
Yeah.
But keep it from freezing. If the skin gets frozen, it can't be reattached. They didn't save that thumb. Anytime it turns that color, the tissue's dead. What do you do for treatment amputation? Stop the bleeding. Dress the stump. If you can find the amputated part, put it in a watertight bag and put it on ice. Do not freeze it. Do not get it wet. Make sure it's not a distracting injury. They're going to die from something else. Because amputations are definitely a distracting injury. Any questions?
For that, TC grenada, a month ago with the amputation. What did
I don't remember it.
It's pretty big.
Uh,
You know, what would they have done in that case, like, where would they, it's like holding him on,
So what got amputated? I don't remember. I don't know anything about it.
it was the leg,
A leg? Amputated leg,
the
huh?
whole thing,
Wow. So you bring the leg with you.
or where you put it, like you.
In the ambulance,
put it
on the
in
floor.
place.
And you can't. You just do your best.
Okay.
Get a hefty trash bag. I mean, you got it. Animal bites. Oh, we're blowing through this faster than I expected. Any questions on animal bites? All right, here's a good example of some animal bites.
When animals attack. You've seen amazing high-speed police chases. And now, coming soon to HBO, when animals attack in high-speed chases. This man has just robbed the bank. He's being pursued by cops. He is traveling at speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. If he makes it to the exit ramp, the police will not be able to catch him. Only one thing can stop him now. When animals attack in high-speed chases.
Hi, I'm Bob Watkins, the host of When Animals Attack in High-Speed Chases. On this show, you'll see graphic images of bloody animal attacks and the messy remains of horrible car accidents over and over and over again.
Let's see that first crash again. The squirrel was killed, but amazingly, the driver survived.
I didn't mind the squirrel attack. I didn't even mind rolling 17 times. Don't cuff me after I've broken every bone in my body.
This is Anna Warner, victim of a vicious animal attack.
My husband and me were camping in Killer Bear Park. The park ranger said there had been bear sightings in the past,
but there was nothing to worry about now.
Basically, I lied.
Another, a car comes speeding into the park with a bear at the wheel. It knocked us to the feet. My husband, thank God, was killed instantly, but amazingly, I lived. And I knew that attack was not an accident, because the bear backed up and drove over me and we got 7 times.
Here was a police photo of Anna just after the attack. What Anna didn't know at the time was there was also a deer in the car riding shotgun. After the attack in the park, officers pursued the bear and the deer.
The bear didn't have a license, was baffled by right turns on red.
For a few miles, the deer takes the wheel, but it's a deer, and the bear takes the wheel back.
Later, the arrogant bear gives the police the finger. This causes the bear to lose control. The cops run him off the road. The deer tries to toss beer cans out the car. The deer is taken into custody immediately. The bear surrenders. Once out of the vehicle, he pretends to be hurt, but then shoves an officer aside and makes a break for the woods. The foot race is on. In desperation, the bear runs into a nearby home. The bear tries to disguise himself as a fancy clothier. The officers are not. They cuff the runner. They also arrest another runner just to be on the safe side.
You'll be spending the next 20 years in jail as Smokey the Bitch.
So join me next week on.
All right, I want to see a real bear attack. Look how excited she is. Bear doesn't like her. Dog bites are brutal.
He knows what might happen if the river had become gray. Joy.
All right, so small animals. Don't worry about infections. Rabies. Stop the bleeding. Dress. Transport. Any questions? They're generally survivable. Not always, but generally. I've seen a few fatal dog bites. Large animals can be very difficult to survive. Don't recommend that you stick your arm or head into large animals' mouths.
Dangerous parts of the act.
Yeah, the stick didn't do it very well. Yeah. If you're on a safari, and you get into a domestic dispute with your spouse, probably not the best choice to get out of the car inside the safari. Just saying.
You know, Brian, I hope those are really good everything.
They never fought again.
Probably died.
Oh, yeah. There's no coming back from this. I'm getting out. How dare you talk to me like that? Be gone. It was fatal.
And the kid? Oh, God.
Yeah.
हमारे शेरशाह उन शेरों के आगे खड़े हो गए और अपनी जैकेट उतारकर शेर को गिफ्ट करने लगे, मगर लायन को जैकेट का कलर पसंद नहीं आया।
They took away the English version of this.
झटका तो लगा, मगर उनकी बुद्धि ठिकाने नहीं आई, जिसका सबूत है
YouTube's
ये
algorithm hasn't figured out this one in this language.
नाखून चुभ चुके हैं, दांत गड़ चुके हैं, शायद पतलून भी गीली हो चुकी होगी, लेकिन बहादुर शेरशाह को शायद इसमें मजा आ रहा है। अरे इतना खतरा तो वो सुबह ब्रेकफास्ट में खाते हैं। मगर शेरों से ज्यादा अनप्रेडिक्टेबल इस वक्त हमारे शेरशाह जी हैं। इनका क्या किया जाए?
अजब जानवर का जब तमाशा Stormers.
You guys all got that? All right. So if your friend's swimming in the ocean and gets attacked by a shark, make sure you video it so helping her.
This is actual video of Ever contemplating the inflation. The shark.
Hey, shark, somebody get the camera.
Matthew reached out and got with a stretching his head over down to Alexander saying, Ever grab the stick. Just grab the stick.
Stick, well, I get a video of this. And he grabbed shit. Rabies. So until about 10 years ago, rabies was 100% fatal. Now it's only 99.9% fatal. There's like 5 cases now, people have actually survived. So anytime you're bitten by an animal, you have to be concerned about rabies. Good news is you can get the vaccine. The incubation time is like 12 days. So you get the vaccine after you've been bitten. It's not a very comfortable vaccine, but it's painful, but it can be done. But if you don't go and get vaccinated, or you can't bring in the animal to bit you, and you get rabies, then you're pretty much toast. Any questions? The body will eat itself from inside. Then you won't be able to swallow any fluids. You'll actually become violent with fluids, start drooling, foaming at the mouth. This is kind of spooky. This is a true story. It's not actually rabies, but space rabies. Actually, it's rabies, but they don't know it's a strand of rabies. Yeah, I'll let you guys decide for yourselves. It was a good video.
Of all of the prevalent diseases which still take thousands of lives each year, few strike as much raw animalistic fear in the mind as rabies. The rabies virus still claims over 50,000 lives each year.
Every year.
Fear surrounding it has led to folklore and legends from centuries ago right up until the modern day. In medieval times, the sight of a person afflicted with rabies even led folk to give understandable merit to stories of ghouls and vampires, which are passed on through every generation. The symptoms of rabies are commonly thought to be the cliched foaming at the mouth and extreme rage, which in more modern times naturally led to the concept of zombies in literature and movies. The full extent of the symptoms, however, is unknown to most, and the true nature of this horrific disease is enough to make anyone who suffers from it lose their mind. The virus causes the victim's brain to swell to the point of outgrowing their skull, which creates an overload of pressure on the brain itself. This, in turn, causes an increased sensitivity to light and other sensory input, all of which become heightened to the point of being painful to the subject. To a rabies sufferer, even water becomes an enemy, causing extreme pain when swallowed, which in turn causes aggressive salivation and foaming at the mouth from dehydration, and when in combination with the affected mental state, causes the sufferer to have an extreme aversion to water, to the point of causing distress and anger. A person who has contracted rabies will typically show recognizable symptoms after 1 to 3 months of infection, but in some cases, it can take only a week, and in others, a full year. On September 31st, 1991, however, a so-called variant strain of rabies was seemingly discovered in the Canary Islands at the Costa Adeje Hospital after an 11-year-old boy was bitten by a bat while on holiday with his family. He was immediately taken to the hospital as a precaution, even though the whole family had already received their rabies shots. Within 24 hours of admission to the hospital, it became clear to the staff on hand that this was no traditional case of rabies. The onset of similar symptoms occurred much more rapidly than typically expected, with the boy, who remains nameless at the request of the family, having visceral aggressiveness toward nurses who tried to give him drinks. What the doctors eventually noticed, however, caused them to enlist outside help from the WHO, World Health Organization. They had noticed that after 22 hours of being bitten, the boy had developed severe depressions in his skin on numerous places over his body, including his arms, legs, chest, and back. These depressions were raw and extremely painful as he lashed out when staff examined him. After the WHO arrived at the hospital within 48 hours of the initial bite, they ascertained that these depressions were in fact being caused by a breakdown of tissue beneath the epidermis, which was in turn causing the outer layer of skin to sag over the empty area where flesh had been. These depressions grew rapidly in size and frequency all over his body, and after 76 hours of torment, the boy died of organ failure. And after the family granted permission to do an autopsy, it was found that his liver, intestines, lungs, and even parts of his brain had almost completely wasted away from the virus, as if he had decomposed while still alive. The only relieving outcome of this event was that no other cases were reported, since skin contact with the patient didn't lead to infection. The bat population in the cave where the boy had been playing was culled to avoid further infection, and further traces of the strain were found in 6% of the bat population, which leads experts to believe that the strain may have still been in
1 in
its
20,
infancy.
sorry.
The most curious thing about this unusual strain, however, is that it was most likely not rabies at all, since it was later confirmed by the WHO DNA of this virus was an exact match to that of the fungus found in the Russian Mir space station in 1988, which was confirmed by microbiologist Natalia Novikova to be a highly aggressive fungi which feeds on plastic, glass, and even some metals, and was highly reactive to UV light, which initially caused it to thrive on the window of the space station, and even began to degrade its windows and hull to the point of putting the cosmonauts in danger of ship integrity failure. To this day, there is only one reported case of this viral infection, which itself seems to have mutated from or even arrived on the fungus aboard the Mir space station as a sort of piggyback through space.
Space rabies.
The origins of this virus and fungi are still unknown to this day.
That'll make you sleep well at night. All right, so here's rabies in Iran.
How good a night are you, Sir Duncan Patrol?
This event is sponsored by a ridiculous debate.
Rabies is one of the most terrifying diseases known to humans. And if the symptoms develop, You need medical attention or you're going to die.
In 1955, this man was attacked by a rabid wolf. The medical team at the Pasteur Institute in Iran filmed the progression of his disease.
This man developed symptoms of rabies. He displays a characteristic restlessness and agitation. As a precaution against the convulsions which commonly occur in rabies, the patient is secured hand and foot. The most familiar clinical symptom of rabies is associated with difficulty in swallowing. When fluid comes in contact with the throat, it is violently expelled, at the same time producing painful, spasmodic muscular contraction.
The medical team could do nothing but document this man's rabies. Within 5 days, he was dead.
The problem with rabies is that unlike most diseases which Mother Nature is merciful in which you lapse into coma or obtunded, with rabies, as you're dying, you are intermittently fully coherent and you can fully express verbally to your family how scared you are, how awful it is, and how you know you're going to die. So for that reason, it's really, really feared.
The thing about rabies is that it affects the nervous system. So it affects the brain, the spinal cord, the thinking parts of a mammal. And it doesn't just randomly wreck those thinking parts. It changes them in a specific way to help the virus succeed. Western medicine has made a lot of progress in fighting rabies. In fact, if you get rabies from an animal, there will be several weeks before you get symptoms, and there's still time in there for medicine to work. But once those symptoms develop, that virus has made its way into your brain. And at that point, medicine may not be able to help you at all.
You're pretty much done at that point. Any questions about rabies? Humans, which are animals, have very dirty mouths. And they can also cause infections when they bite you. Get a human bite here.
All right, so nasty's not been added into me a fight almost. Oh, very scary. Look at this. To Tyson bared his teeth at one stage in the exchange. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what all you feel. There's a lot of fear from that. You see the blood on the ear. I'll definitely get blamed. Well, feelings are running very, very hot indeed in there. How many people was out?
What do we do for bites? We treat it as any other open soft tissue injury. Stop the bleeding, dress it, transport, ABCs. Any questions? If possible, find the biter, have it tested for rabies. Any questions on open soft tissue injuries? All right, burns. This is when skin tissue has more energy than it can absorb and displace, causing damage to the tissue. A lot of different types of burns. In this case, this guy never got taught how to stop, drop, and roll. He's going a little fast. He self-extricates though. There he is. He just got out. See him on the left? No. Yeah, he just got out. Now he's trying to roll on. Officer forgot his fire extinguisher. He didn't survive. Don't try this at home. bottom of the gene pool. I think it's a volleyball.
Yeah, keep it ready.
Or a soccer ball. So those of you in fire science, make sure you understand fire loading, fuel loading.
Charles gets ready to torch it. But he gets a lot more than rocket for. Gas mask causing slow down. I didn't know. What spring, Charles barely escaped the flaming death trap. The new kind of news, he dives into the water and swims to safety.
You know, I in trouble. Almost gets run over by the rescue boat. So about 10,000 deaths a year, 1/5 of deaths of rabies. They're very painful. They're also distracting injuries. You have to do a complete assessment. Any questions? So you want to know what the depth of the burn is. So there's two different definitions of depth of burn. There's the degree, and then the plain simple English versions. So the first depth is called first degree, which is also known as superficial. It's just burns the outside of the epidermis. Then you got second degree, which is also known as a partial thickness, and it burns through the epidermis and into the dermis. Then you have third degree, or also known as full thickness, which burns through the skin and into the soft tissue and the muscle. So you want to know how much of the body is burned. So we generally, most of medicine and EMS uses the rule of nines. So there's 11 regions of your body that are all 9%, and then your genitalia, which is 1%. So you get 9% for your head, 9% for the anterior chest, 9% for your abdomen, 9% for the top of your back, 9% for the lower back, 9% for each arm, 9% for the anterior from the pelvis to the knee of your leg, 9% for the posterior, same, 9% for, actually, I'm sorry, 18% from each leg. You can divide it up however you want, 9% above, 9% below the knee, or 9% front, 9% back. And that should give you 11 regions of 90%, making up 99% and then 1% for genitalia. Any questions? So superficial first degree burns, generally like a sunburn, it's just the first layer of skin. It's very painful. However, it generally doesn't do a lot of damage and it's very healable. Any questions? Then you get second degree, also known as partial thickness. That's where it burns all the way through and it damages the skin. You get horrific blisters. These are extremely painful. Any questions? Then you got third degree full thickness burns, which are not painful at all because it burns the nerve endings completely off and destroys them. However, they're usually surrounded by second degree, very, very painful second degree partial thickness burns. Any questions on the difference between depth of burns? Now, one thing I didn't tell you about children. Well, the rule of nines don't work with children because they have big bobble heads, twice the size they should be. That's why Peanuts, Charlie Brown are always is accurate how big their heads are. So what you do is you steal 4.5% from each child's leg and give it to the head. Everything else is the same. So 18% for the head, 18% for the anterior, 18% for posterior, 9% for each arm, but the legs are shorter. So the legs, you take 4.5 off each leg, which is what, 18 minus 4.5, 13.5 for each leg, and 18 for the head. Any questions? If People get all worried about, oh, the rules of nine's different. It's not. You just take 4.5 from each leg and give it to the head. It's that simple. So this video is what not to do. This fire department put it on as a great job. There's about 20 things you guys should be able to identify of what you should not be doing on scene of a fire. It's also what happens when you have paramedics around and no EMTs. Are you ready? This ain't pretty. ABCs? ABCs?
Right now with IVs, no one's ventilated. I had to edit sections out. This goes for like 40 minutes unseen. Still snags. More paramedics, more IVs.
Kids think it's funny. Okay, we got more paramedics.
An hour.
Now they're done with it, they're getting no premium too good. We never got to check the plus. Now they're pretty bad. Any questions? Where's your rule of nines? For adults and children, you must know that to pass tests. It is the same to an adult and a child, except from a child, you take 4.5% from each leg and give it to the head. Big giant bobbleheads. Little weak necks. Any questions about the rule of nines? You probably test question on. Yes, sir.
What age does the it change?
When their head grows into their body. Puberty? When their body grows into their head, I guess. The head stays the same. Body keeps growing. Now here's something we hope to really like.
Hey guys, welcome back. Johnny Emergency Medical Council bringing you the next video in our series of quick temperature scan techniques you can take with you into the field. Today we're going to be talking about the rule of nines. It's a quick, simple way to estimate the total body surface area covered by a burn. It's really easy, but it gives some students a lot of trouble. We'll have students ask us questions like, if a patient is burned on both arms, do they get a 9% or is it 18%? If it's only one arm, 4.5%, we're confused. So right now, we're going to clear up all that confusion for you. On the screen, you'll see two diagrams, and it's already split up into regions, and they're labeled. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of nines. I'm seeing 4.5%, 18%, 1%, where all the nines thought this was the rule of nines. If you want to see all the nines, we're going to divide the body into 11 regions that are each going to represent 9%. We're going to have the head, the chest, the abdomen, the upper back, the lower back, the front left leg, the back left leg, the front right leg, the back right leg, the left arm, and the right arm. And each one of these comprises 9% of your total body surface area. And we have one other region that's going to make up the remaining 1%, and that's going to be the genital region. So let's go a little bit further, make sure everybody understands. If someone has a burn to the face, it's only going to be 4.5%. But if the burn covers their whole head, the face and the back of their head, now we're looking at 9%. If someone had a burn that covered just the anterior portion of their arm, it'll be 4.5%. If it's circumferential, covering the entire arm, anterior and posterior, be 9%. The legs are pretty similar. If it's just covering the front of one leg, 9%. If it's covering the front and back of the leg going the whole way around, 18%. Or if you have the front of both legs burnt, you're looking at 18% again. So if we had a burn to the upper portion of the back, that would be 9%. And we divided the back into upper and lower, but we just as easily could have made it left and right. So we have highlighted right now, the left half of the back also representing 9%. I think this presented quite a couple scenarios. Hopefully everyone's clear right now. But just to make sure, let's do a couple practice problems to make sure everybody understands this concept. All right, our first problem, a 22-year-old male has circumferential burns on both his legs and genitals. What percent of his body is burned? Remember, circumferential means the front and the back.
37.
So we're gonna have 9%, 9%, 9, 18, 27, 36% for the legs, plus 1% for the genitals. This person would have 37% of their body burned. A 57-year-old female tripped and fell into a small campfire. She has burns to her hands, anterior forearms, and upper chest. What percentage of her body has been burned? So let's start with the hands and anterior forearms. We're not looking at the back, it's all anterior. So the forearm is half of the total arm, so 2 1/4. And both arms, so 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 4.5% of the body burnt, plus the upper chest. If the chest is worth 9, it'd be fair to assume that the upper chest could be worth 4.5 and the lower chest could be worth 4.5. So we have 4.5 for both the anterior forearms and 4.5 for the upper chest, giving us 9% of this patient's body burned. A 17-year-old male sustained burns to his face and chest, entire left arm, anterior portion of his right arm, and upper third of his abdomen while burning yard debris. What percentage of his body has been burned? So the face is 4.5%. The chest is 9%. We'll add that together. So far, we're up to 13.5%. His entire left arm, anterior and posterior, is going to be another 9%. We're up to 22.5. The anterior portion of his right arm is just going to be the front. So that's going to be adding another 4.5. So we're up to 27. 1/3 of his abdomen. The whole abdomen is worth 9. So we can, not even assume a third of it would be 3%. Add that. We're up to 30% of this patient's body being burnt. So that's the rule of 9s. I hope it's clear to everybody, but if not, leave us a comment. Ask us.
Yeah,
this video is going to be an introduction to the rule of 9s when applying it to a child or an infant, someone who has disproportional body parts as opposed to an adult. If you want to know how to do the adult rule of 9, check out our adult rule of 9 video. And if you want to know the clinical significance of why we do the rule of 9, check out our Parkland formula video on why we do this or why it's important. This is done by everyone from a first responder to a physician because there is some clinical significance to being able to quickly spit out the estimated percentage of total body surface area that's been affected by a burn. So now we're going to talk about how we do this with a child. And you notice in this kiddo here, I drew a really large head, which is the big difference between adults and children, right? They have a disproportionately large head as opposed to an adult. Just look at a baby or an infant to really hit that point home or think of that. So the rule of 9s, kind of the mnemonic or the working memory tool we're using for the adult is 9s, rule of 9s, that's in the title, right? So we're going to start with the arms. Each arm is awarded a 9. So rule
just
of
like
9,
an adult.
that's the smallest appendage, 9, okay? How this infant differs from, this child differs from an adult is they have a larger head. So rather than just awarding 9 to the head, we're going to award 18 to the head. And the torso is going to be 36. And then here, we talk about in the other video, if you're unsure of what's left, just add, subtract from 100, see what's left, and you'll divide by 2 for 2 legs. In this case,
that's a real hard way of looking at it.
28%.
Just take 4.5
so
away
for
from
child
each
rule
leg,
9,
get the head.
legs are the hardest things to remember, and that's because each leg
Don't
is
listen to this clown. Any questions? All right, critical burns. What's considered a critical burn? 30-degree burn, any burn in the palms of your hands, the bottoms of your feet, or your genitalia or your airway. Those are life-threatening issues. That's quality of life. Well, of course, airway will kill you. Any third-degree burn over 10% of the total body surface area, or any second-degree burn over 30%. Or any airway or respiratory burns, because that will kill you. Your airways will swell shut. Any questions? So again, if you're at college and you're drinking at a party, you're doing lighted shots. You don't pour the lighted shot in like a flaming waterfall.
Oh my God!
Pour a flaming waterfall into your mouth. That's idiotic. My God. Say with this, for those of you in the fire service, count how many things this captain did wrong. Good thing he's got a strong union. I'm breathing out, Travis. No scoop ramp, no line on the roof. No tie-in. Suddenly, we ventilates the roof, like he was trying to do.
And John Franco is that was great. Control of igniting fire.
The objective was to ventilate the roof. You ventilate on the opposite side of where your ladder is? I never have. Any questions? All right, moderate burns. Third-degree burns, 2% of body surface area to 10%, but under 10%. Excluding hands, feet, face, upper airway, genitalia. Second-degree burns over 50 to 30%, or first-degree burns over 50% of the body, that would hurt. That's considered the moderate burn class. The minor burn class will be everything else that's not addressed under critical and moderate burns. Any questions? That's good. So, pediatrics. Problems with pediatric burns. Surface to mass ratio. If I take this sheet of paper and I hold a lighted match under it, how quickly is it going to burn up? 2 seconds, maybe. Now, if I crumple this same piece of paper up into the tightest ball that I can, scrunch it up, and I hold a lighted match under it, how long is it going to take for that to burn up? A long time. That's because of surface to mass ratio. The mass is still the same. but now it's got 90% less surface area to distribute the damage. So kids, they have a greater surface to mass ratio. So burns on kids are always going to be more severe than burns on adults. They don't have the mass to absorb the energy. Any questions? Lots of surface, very little mass. Any questions on critical burns on children? So what do you do for burns? Biggest thing is, first of all, scene safety, make sure we don't get burned, put our BSI on. Remove them from whatever is burning them. If it is a thermal burn, then cool the part per your local protocols. Most places it's 10 to 15 minutes. Then cover them with dry dressings over the burn, sterile dry dressings, and then wrap them up and keep them warm. You gotta remember, your skin is what regulates your body temperature. When your skin is damaged, you cannot regulate your body temperature. You get hypothermic quickly. In 1993, UC Davis did a study of their burn patients coming in from EMS. 98% of the ones that came in from EMS were hypothermic. We overcooled them. Any questions? You got to cool it long enough to stop the burning process. Just because you remove them from the causative agent doesn't mean the burning of the tissue is not still burning. The energy is still there, it's still destroying the skin. So you want to try to get the energy out of it, flush it out, preferably with water. Any questions? So not all burns are thermal burns. You also have chemical burns. And if it's things like dry lime, you don't want to put water on it unless you have copious amounts of water. Copious is a large volume of unlimited water supply. So you got to be able to do a massive flush if it's going to dry lime. And you don't even do that until you have brushed as much of it off as possible. Any questions? If you don't have copious amounts of water, do not get it wet because dry lime reacts with the water and increases the burning process. Remove all contaminated clothing. Any questions? Yes. If you have copious amounts of it, like 500 gallons, yeah. Again, copious amounts. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
If you do have copious amounts of water, should you really spend 15 to 20 minutes?
Yes, 'cause
Flushing
you
them
want-
out, or just
be-
transport if you can get there soon?
Because you want to stop the tissue damage. Because if you transport without doing that, you're going to have more tissue damage by the time you get to the hospital.
Okay,
You want to try to stop the burning process if possible.
okay.
Do you have a hose?
Yeah. But a big hose, not a 5/8 inch, like a fire hose, like a 1 inch. I mean, a garden hose, a 5/8 inch, probably depends on the size of the burn and what you're doing. I would use it for dry lime. I'd use at least an open butt 1 inch if possible. You can get them underneath the shower, same thing, not a California shower head. Not enough water. Any questions? You can get them under an open spigot, which are usually at least 1 inch lines. That would work if you can get them underneath one. Any questions? Electrical burns. So electrical burns, there will always be an entrance wound and an exit wound because it has to be grounded. A positive does not work without a ground for electrical burns. You also have to remember everything internally in the body is burned inside in between the entrance and the exit wound also. This is a great example, and this happens more often than you would believe. Child sticks a key into a positive prong, connects. There's your entrance wound, your exit wounds at the knee. Everything in between here is burned. Also, this can disrupt the cardiac rhythm of the automaticity of the heart and can send them into instant cardiac arrest. Defibrillation usually works if it is done quickly. Any questions? That's actually a really good picture for the public. Cute kid, just not very smart. All right, any questions about soft tissue injuries? Okay, so this next one, wow, they timed this perfectly. So this presentation is about soft tissue injuries, but it's more about the trauma system and what happens when the trauma system works correctly. So we've taught you guys that all of emergency services is one giant machine with each specific part being a spoke of the wheel or a gear in the machine. All the gears have to be working properly. And if all the gears are working properly, it's pretty amazing what can happen. So this happened, I believe, in 1993. I was actually on duty, and I actually ended up being not a direct part of this, but I ended up picking up where the diversion went through. I ended up getting involved in taking a transfer from this. But this happened at Shasta Lake. I believe it was in May of 1993. Oregon State students take over Shasta Lake and big parties, rented a houseboat. Girl was swimming behind the houseboat. Someone fired up the engine and backed over her and sent her through the propeller of the houseboat. So, May 7th, 1992. She was 19 years old, on vacation, swimming behind the barrel. Propeller sucked her through it, completely amputated her left leg, which is actually a good thing. Left leg floated off on its own, intact. But the rest of her went through the propeller. What happens? What do you think happened? All our friends started doing what? Everybody started screaming bloody murder. So everything in this case happened at exactly the right moment. There happened to be a boating deputy that heard the screams and knew something was immediately wrong. He drove over there, saw the pieces in the lake, and immediately started screaming over the radio for about full medical dispatch. AirMed 1, a helicopter out of Redding, which is down Reach 5, was actually flying from Redding to Mount Shasta to get a cardiac patient and heard the guy screaming over the scanner and looked down and saw the boat. So they just landed on the shore. Deputy grabbed her, threw her into the boat, drove her to the shore, saw the helicopter land. We're talking minutes. I ended up taking the cardiac patient down to Redding because the helicopter never showed up. Threw her in the helicopter, loaded and left. Did not screw around on scene trying to start IVs or any of that stuff. No way they could stop the bleeding. She was literally completely dissected by the propeller. She ended up having 3 cardiac arrests in between the time they lifted off and the time they landed at Mercy Redding. Got her back all 3 times. And fortunately, it was in the middle of the daytime. So everybody was in-house. The whole trauma team was in-house. And all the surgeons were there. Everybody was there. All right, you ready for this? That's what they brought in to the ER. So, right leg's still intact. Left leg's completely amputated. Yep, he also grabbed the left leg. Smart work. Like the surgeon said, they didn't even know where to start. So they're trying to find a landmark. So she's completely eviscerated. The abdominal wall's completely gone. All of the organs are open. Chest is open. One of the arms, can't remember, left arm, right arm. One of the arms, I think it's her left arm, was completely mangled. It lost the radial nerve, was somewhere in the fishery dead. So what they found was, they figured right here, that's pubic hair. And that's where they were able to start. She had another 3 arrests in the ER and the OR. Ended up getting 56 units of blood. So what they ended up doing was they took the left leg and they used the part. So like this right femur was toast. I mean, it got completely just chopped up by the propeller. So they actually took the femur from her left leg and put it in her right leg. And then they used the skin from her left leg and rebuilt her entire abdominal wall. And they actually took the sciatic nerve out of her left leg, so they couldn't reattach it. It was just mangled. And they ended up putting the sciatic nerve, they grafted it into her arm to replace the radial nerve, which was completely gone, so she could have a functioning hand again someday. And she survived. There's the left leg.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no reason.
Yeah, no. But the parts were fantastic. That's how they were able to save her, was using parts from the left leg. And there's where they grafted in the left femur into her right femur. Got her abdominal wall put back together, used skin grafts from the left leg. And then they took the sciatic nerve and put it into her arm. And did that. And 27 days later, she got discharged out of Mercy Reading to a rehabilitation center, skilled nurse facility, to get rehab, to learn how to walk again and how to function again. And then after 18 months, she actually, with the graft from the sciatic nerve in her arm, now has full function of her arms. And she is still alive to this day with the aid of just a left leg prosthesis. There she is. But everything, if one thing was not in place, there's no way she'd be alive. Everything had to happen exactly at the right time, and everyone had to do exactly as they were trained and do it right. That is why it is so critically important that when we're doing the skills, when we're doing things, practicing, you have to do it correctly. There is no margin for error. One margin for error, one person's not on their game, one thing does not go right, this patient does not survive. Any questions? Yes.
With them taking her bone out of her one leg and then the other one, would she potentially need to be on organ transplant?
No, because it's her own.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, no, she's not on any anti-rejection drugs because they used all of her own parts.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's nothing to reject there. It's her own DNA. It's not foreign. It's just moved. Any questions? All right, go to break. Be back at 8 o'clock. We actually knocked that out faster than I expected.